Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Uncle Matt here. We are live on a Friday night as we have been doing recently. I am changing things up a little bit. Hold on. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Uncle Matt here. We are live on a Friday night for our usual Friday night live stream. Doing things a little differently this week. Been playing a lot of MLB The Show lately, and I was in the middle of a game and was kind of like, hey, I don't want to break up the game. I don't want to stop playing. I can do a live stream while I play a little bit MLB The Show, do all the things we usually do, kind of chat a little bit about Nashville SC, what we've got coming up this weekend, just some of the other stuff that's been going on lately, and just general chat stuff. So thanks for joining. If you're here with us, I'm going to do my best to do the usual thing, but I didn't want to break up my game. I wanted to keep playing my game. So, big thing we got this weekend, obviously, tomorrow night at Geodis Park, we've got Nashville SC hosting LAFC. Yeesh, this one does not seem like it's gonna be in a good spot for Nashville SC right now. LAFC is kind of hitting on all cylinders. Nashville SC has not been in the best of form, not been great lately, so yeesh. I saw somebody today, I can't remember who it was, somebody on Twitter at least was giving Nashville SC a little bit of credit, because our defense has been pretty solid for the most part this season, and said it's the irresistible force against the immovable object, comparing like LAFC's stellar attack to our really good defense. But I'm like, I think the last game against NYCFC showed that our defense is good, but we've been bailed out a lot by Joe Willis making some incredible saves. And so when we get into spots where he doesn't make those incredible saves, he doesn't get those big moments, we kind of get into trouble. And that's what happened against NYCFC. First 20 minutes, we were just a little bit out of sorts, not where we needed to be, and it led to them getting a 2-0 lead. And if anybody goes up 2-0 on us, there's just pretty much no chance that we're going to win, because the odds of us scoring more than one goal in a game are very low. So I am very low on optimism for this match. I think most Nashville SC fans are. Speedway Soccer usually post a tweet every week, saying, what is your prediction for the game this week? Do you think win, loss, or draw for Nashville SC? And almost every week, the majority of the poll goes for Nashville SC win. But this week, it was like 60% for an LAFC win. It's like the first time I've ever seen the Speedway Soccer poll thread going in favor of a Nashville SC loss. So that just tells you where the fan base is at, what they're thinking about the team right now, and in comparison to what they think about LAFC. A little bit of Red Bull.
Braves are set
Keep me energized through the stream here.
The A's will get their first opportunity.
Yeah, it's hard to see, like, based on like everything LAFC's done this season, everything they've done, going back to last season. How could Nashville SC win this game?
Spencer Strider, he's
unless there's some kind of miraculous resurgence of CJ Sapong, unless like Leal actually was upgraded to questionable for this game. But Gary has said for a while that he's aiming for Leal's return to come in the U.S. Open Cup match coming up on Wednesday. So maybe Leal makes the bench. But even that, I mean, like, I don't know that Leal. Like a couple weeks ago, if you asked me, like, oh, bring back Randall Leal, will that be good for Nashville SC? Yeah, 100%. That'll be huge, getting another creative attacking player back into the lineup. But I'm kind of like now how inept our attack has been outside of Henny Mukhtar, and I'm like, Leal's just not a fix-all for that. There's no way he just comes back in and solves all the problems. He'll help for sure, but I mean, like, in a game like this where you're expecting, I would be shocked if LAFC doesn't score at least 2 goals.
And now
And
it's
I would be shocked
1-2.
if Nashville SC
Swing and a
scores
miss, struck
more
him
than one
out.
goal. So, I mean,
Couldn't catch up to the heater.
at best, I think it's a 2-1 win for LAFC, and I don't think Randall Leal's return changes things that much because week to week, it's just like CJ Sapong, Teal Bunbury situation as our strikers has just, in my eyes, gotten worse and worse. Because, like, the argument people made in favor of CJ Sapong was like, oh, but look what all else he does outside of scoring. Look at the work he does off the ball.
Up next for the
And
A's.
none of that is happening anymore.
This
Like,
guy, one of the best
I think, like,
catchers going. You talk
big
about
fan of Club and
framing,
Country USA's
the ability to
podcast.
block,
You know,
catch and
Wes
throw.
Bowling and
He is at the top of the game.
I'm probably going to butcher this name if I'm going to forget it right now. Tim Sullivan.
Really good athlete,
You know, they
and
do a
many
really good
times
job
we
breaking
talk
down
about,
and
the feet
analyzing the
of
National League
infielders.
games,
This
but
catcher as well. Really quick feet.
they,
He's able
you know,
to recognize the pitch,
Tim
see the
Sullivan has been one of the
trajectory,
biggest
and get into a
proponents
spot
of,
where he
oh,
can
it's
block
small
those
sample
balls and
size. You
keep
can't
them
really
from going to the
judge
backstop.
the fact that CJ Sapong hasn't scored in 300, I believe, 28 days at this point. There's a new Twitter account that's like tracking that. Because it's a small sample size, but also all the work he's doing off the ball. And then finally this week on the podcast, Tim Sullivan started to like kind of change and be like, well, you know, you do want your striker to be a little bit involved in the attack. You do want them to at least be somewhat creating chances, and it's like, duh. Your striker has to score a goal sometime in a calendar year. We're creeping up on it. We're 40 days away if we can make it there. I'm almost rooting for us to get there. It almost would be funnier at this point for CJ Sapong to go a full calendar year without scoring a goal. But the CJ Sapong supporters are finally starting to kind of like wake up and be like, oh, you know, well, maybe he's not doing enough off the ball. Maybe the little stuff maybe him just being out there running around doing nothing isn't quite good enough. Maybe he actually should be creating scoring chances. Maybe he actually should be scoring goals. I don't want to go on another CJ Sapong rant, but yeah, it's been bad, and it's getting worse, and I don't think it's going to get any better, because you don't get better when you're, you know, past a certain age in the world of football. I got to ask, this actually, I don't know how I should feel about this. I was refereeing a high school game the other day, and I was talking about, like, with this guy who I was reffing with. I was like, you know, I miss playing a little bit because, you know, I don't get to play as much as I used to. And he said, you know, oh, hey, why don't you join? We're always looking for players in the over 40 league that I play in. And I was like, don't know if you're going to try to sneak me in under the radar of an over 40 league, or if you think I'm over 40. But I was borderline about to fire up and like get really mad about that, but I was like, I am definitely not qualified by age restrictions to play in an over 40 league at this point in my life. And I was like, oh, it's getting bad that people are inviting me to over 40 leagues, but is what it is. Whatever. CJ Sapong, maybe he should be playing in an over 40 league. He's 100 times better than me. I don't know why I'm comparing myself to him at this point in time, but still, 320 plus days without scoring a goal is ridiculous for a striker. Like, not only a striker, but a first choice striker. Like this whole like defense of him that I've heard from. I don't want to just single out Club and Country USA, because there's been other people who, like, I'm almost like wondering, like, are people like being soft on the team to try to make sure they can still get coverage, still get access or whatever? Because, like, what other team, what other league in the world could you have your first choice striker go 320 plus days without scoring a goal and have the media or coverage of the team like defending that person and being like, oh, you know, but look what else he does? Like, I don't, like, there's just no scenario where like your first choice starting striker never scores goals and you're just like, this is good. This is a good thing. We're happy with this. Like, MLS is a little different, obviously, than, like, you know, in Premier League, La Liga, you know, Serie A, you expect the strikers to be banging in 20-plus goals a season. MLS is a little different, but, like, to just, like, be happy that your striker scores 0 goals is insane. That's just absolutely insane. And I think people are finally, like, in the media who have been, like, protective of CJ are finally like, we're coming up on a calendar year. This is probably not right. Probably not where we should be. But I can't believe it's taken this long for people to like kind of turn that corner and be like, hey, CJ Show's probably scored some goals at this point in time. Red Bull. It's giving me wings tonight. Just to wrap it up, I don't see a scenario where it is really hard to see a scenario where Nashville LAFC gets any type of result this weekend against LAFC. I mean, the biggest benefit we maybe have for the game is that it's quite a long road trip for LAFC.
In the air, pretty deep out to
coming all the way from California to Nashville.
Makes the grab, and that's the inning.
But we've got a couple players on our team that have kind of gotten
an inning, no score.
A little bit of a rough travel schedule this week. Walker Zimmerman, Shaq Moore both had to go to Arizona midweek for the stupid, random, clear cash grab USA versus Mexico Continental Classical match that somebody put on to get a bunch of money. I don't know who was behind that one exactly, but it was clearly a cash grab to get a bunch of money. So really our players had to fly out, midweek. But Shaq Moore has quietly been one of, if not our best player of the season. Oh, deep drive for Sean Murphy back in his own court. Oakland, got over the head of everybody.
Into second easily
that was Austin Riley. That wasn't Sean Murphy.
Seeing some good swings from him right now with consecutive
It's kind of fitting for me to be broadcasting and playing the Braves versus the A's, as it was just announced yesterday, I believe, that Oakland is just about officially 100% locked in that the Athletics are moving to Las Vegas. They've locked in an agreement to buy a plot of land to build a stadium to move there. So
now it's Randy Arozarena.
It's always controversial. There's always a bit of a
slapped foul.
Who knows what when a team moves? But I mean, if you've seen the attendance the Athletics are getting in Oakland right now,
and that's
they got to go. I mean,
base hit.
Oakland has
headed for the plate.
The team hasn't really invested to
and it's 1-0.
Make people excited to want to come and see the Athletics. They basically every time they've had a good player, they trade away. The Braves are the beneficiaries of that, having gotten Matt Olson, now Sean Murphy.
And now they've got some speed on first, so we'll see if they try to get him into motion.
Matt Olson
they're
up
one
to
of the
plate.
Most embarrassing teams in terms of attendance in Major League Baseball. So I mean,
at the belt and fires,
it kind of makes all sense in the world that it would be time to move on.
Misses.
Move out. Sucks for Oakland though, because they've lost 2 teams to Las Vegas in the last 5 or 6 years with the Raiders move in, and now the Athletics are going to move. I was a diehard Oaklander. I would just be livid right now. But I've heard a lot of people say with the Raiders,
so here we go. Base runner at first,
the commute or the trip for a weekend game to Vegas to Oakland's not that bad. So a lot of the Raiders fans who are Oakland Raiders fans, they're still going to Vegas to watch the games. But that's one time a week. You go on a Sunday to watch the game.
Swing and a miss.
Struck him out.
And one
not bad swing by Matt Olson. Not me. I'm not
down and away. It's just kind of
whereas I think the A's moving to Vegas works. Actually, I think baseball is probably the best sport. It's kind of crazy that they're the ones that just now moved to Vegas. I don't know if the Pete Rose thing was peddling about teams you can't move a baseball team to Vegas because we have one of our most famous players of all time permanently banned because of gambling.
Base hit.
There was a shot by Travis d'Arnaud.
So it's first and second with only one away.
He was all over that one.
But Vegas makes the most sense for baseball more than any other sport they've got because baseball basically plays every day. You go to a baseball game, it's kind of a cool thing to go to just to be there. You can hang out. It's basically
line drive, base hit.
If you're not into sports, baseball's the best sport to go to because it's just kind of happening. You can walk around. If you're a drinker, unlike me, I'm not a drinker, so this is for me. But you can just have some beers, get a glizzy or two. Baseball's kind of the ultimate just casual sport, which makes it a perfect fit for Vegas. They have 162 games a year. People that are out there get bored of being in the casinos all day, pop over, go watch a baseball game, have some beers. Not me, I'm not a drinker.
Could be some action here on this next pitch.
Don't even care what's happening in the game. You're just there for it. It's kind of like how the Sounds is a hot ticket destination here in Nashville. Not hot ticket destination might be a stretch, but people go to the Sounds games a lot.
2-1 now, 2 aboard.
But nobody's going to watch the result. I've been to like local Sounds games over the years, and I can't tell you who won or lost any. Because it's just like I'm just there to hang out. Baseball's like a fun backdrop of a thing that's happening while you're there. The Sounds have done a good job of making the new stadium, especially First Horizon Park, a place where you can go hang out, have fun. Baseball's happening while you're there, but you can also have fun and do other stuff while you're there.
That's back.
Oh, Sean Murphy. There he is. He home runs. He hits a homer in his return to Oakland. Big jack for Sean Murphy. What an acquisition by the Braves. Thank you, Oakland, for giving us Sean Murphy. Anyway, that was a whole ramble about baseball and whatnot, but let's get back to Nashville SC. Let's wrap up talking about that. Like I said, I have a hard time seeing any scenario where Nashville SC gets a positive result in this match unless they just go the worst of the worst Gary Ball, just fully parking the bus, fully grinding the game out, getting a 0-0 draw or like a 1-1 draw if we can somehow nick a goal, but seems very unlikely we're going to hold LAFC to less than 2 goals. Seems very unlikely we would score more than 1. So it almost seems assured to me that LAFC somehow wins the game. Like I've said recently, the best bet you could possibly make in sports is the Nashville SC under. And of course that lost last week. I said bet under what it was, 2.5 goals. And of course Nashville SC lost 2-1. So it was like a double thing. I told my guy Richard Greenberg in the comments, I was like, yep, this is why I usually don't bet on my teams, because it always works out that I lose the bet and my team loses. So last week, Nashville SC lost 2-1. I bet the under 2.5 goals. Double loss for me. It sucked. I'd lean the over in this game because I assume the over-under is going to be either 1.5 or 2.5, and I don't think Nashville SC will, as good as the defense has been, will keep LAFC under 2 goals. And their defense is not great, so we'll probably, there's a chance we can sneak at least 1 in, but I don't see us scoring 2. I haven't looked at the line. I haven't looked at the odds. If LAFC money line is anything in a reasonable range, I might take just LAFC money line, just because it is hard to see a scenario unless Nashville SC just goes full demon mode and just completely destroys the game with just complete park the bus defense. Any way they get any type of result out of this, it's sucks to say it, but I would take a home draw. Normally, you always feel like you gotta get 3 points at home, but this is a match for the way we've been playing, the way LAFC's been playing.
And there's one down.
I would sadly almost take a draw at home.
Into the at-bat for the hitter right there. I mean, that pitch was
the one sort of big piece of news this week for Nashville SC was we traded some of our large stacked pile of GAM, which I don't really even know what GAM is, but we traded a bunch of it to FC Cincinnati to acquire an international spot for a roster spot. My understanding is the international spots are, kind of like a tick below the designated player spot, where it doesn't really open up a huge salary for a huge big name player, but it does open you up to be able to get a kind of semi-significant player. Ben Wright on Twitter alluded to the fact that this could be opening up the chance for Nashville SC to bring in more center back depth to replace the injured Nick Depay, because we only have 2 first-team center backs right now, so we definitely need a center back. It's I think the frustrating thing is, and I don't want to blame Mike Jacobs because he did a really good job of building the Nashville SC roster. I kind of almost more blame the MLS structure for the situation Nashville SC is in right now, because the fact that we run a calendar of a season that's basically opposite the rest of the world kind of screws us over, because you would want to bring in new signings, you would want to bring in big players if you're going to bring in big players before the season starts. it's difficult to do that in MLS, to bring in players from outside of MLS, because the preseason transfer window for MLS is when every other league in the world is in midseason. So we saw it with Shaq Moore. Like last year, we were pretty confident we were going to go get Shaq Moore, but Getafe was not willing to let him go in January because they were in the middle of their season. They thought they still might need him. They weren't fully prepared to let him go, so we had to wait till the summer to get him. And we had already traded away Alistair Johnson, so we had to basically play with no capable right back for half a season until we could get done in the summer. Similar thing with Ake Loba. So, like, you know, if there's typically the way I understand it is Nashville SC hasn't made these type of moves to open up an international spot like this unless they thought they had a move on the offing. But we're in a terrible spot right now where the most obvious thing we need is like a additional goal scoring threat, whether it's like a winger who can score or, you know, a more consistent goal scoring striker. But we also need another center back, because if Walker or Jack Mayer becomes unavailable, we don't have anybody that Gary Smith has any faith in playing like legit, like everybody else has been playing in Huntsville, that could be our next choice center back. So it's like, once again, much like last year when we traded Alistair Johnson but didn't properly necessarily replace him until the summer, we traded Dave Romney. Made sense because it's like, okay, Jack Mayer, he's ready to go and he's ready to be the first choice center back, but we did not. I guess Nick DePae was supposed to come in and be like the third center back, but apparently we still haven't gotten the full details of what Gary Smith was alluding to with the whole situation of, like, did he come here injured? Was there somehow not the right due diligence done in some form or fashion in that trade? That whole thing's weird because he was supposed to basically just slide in and be like third choice, occasional starting center back, and just showed up and was like, oh, he's got an Achilles injury and he's just never going to play. So it seems more likely to me, like, if I'm Mike Jacobs right now, I'm probably trying to find a way to get a third starting capable center back in right now. That seems like an easier thing to do than to find a striker, because I mean, like, if it was easy to find a goal scoring striker, like, just everybody would be very good at soccer, but that's a lot harder of a thing to find than to find a capable playable center back. So if we're going to use that international spot before the MLS primary transfer window closes on April 24th, I would guess it's for a center back to kind of complement Jack Marr and Walker Zimmerman. I think if there's any chance we're going to get a striker in, it's going to have to wait till either summer or potentially even longer, because right now it looks unlikely that Tigres are going to purchase the contract of, is it Tigres or whatever club he's on loan at. It does not look likely that Ake Loba's contract is going to get purchased by the club he's on loan at, because he's injured and out for the foreseeable future. Nashville SC can pay the money to buy his DP contract out to open up a DP spot. I think if they found the player they wanted, if there was a player they were gung-ho about getting in and knew they needed the designated player spot, I think they would do that. But his contract ends at the end of next season, Ake Loba's does, so if there's just not just the gung-ho absolute player that they absolutely have to go get to make sure that they properly use the designated player spot this time, I think they would do it. I think they would buy Ake Loba out, but if they don't, and I don't know who it would be, like, that's the weird kind of thing is, like, we've had these rumors for the last couple seasons where we kind of knew the player that they were going to go get. Like last year, I mentioned, like, we kind of knew from January on that at some point in time they were going to sign Shaq Moore. Ake Loba, you know, going back a couple years, it was pretty clear, pretty confident that he was eventually going to come in when the timing was right. But there's hints, there's rumors, there's suggestions that they're going to make a move for a striker in the summer window that opens up in August. But it's notable to me that there's not necessarily a name, not necessarily a player that's being floated out there, because that's been the case previously. But if the right player that they want's not there, I don't think they do anything. So I think we might just be coasting through this season, wasting another year of potential. And I think that's why the fan base, you know, there's a part of me that's always like, we are exceeding the expectations of what an expansion team should do. But we've almost exceeded them too much. When you've got two-time MLS Defender of the Year, when you've got an MLS MVP, when you've got a goalkeeper who I believe right now is leading the league in clean sheets and has been amongst the leaders in clean sheets and saves for his time here at Nashville LAFC, when you've got those kind of pieces and you don't push to really go for it, to really try to push for a championship, that's where I think people are getting frustrated on the fan base side. Because on the one hand, we should, you know, be pretty reasonably happy. We should be like, hey, we're an expansion team and we've made the playoffs every single year. We've finished in the top half of the division every single year. We've got a couple home playoff games. These should all be like accomplishments, but we're like too good for our own good, if that makes sense. Like having an MVP caliber player, having one of the best defenders in the league, almost like raised the bar too much. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of rambling at this point in time, but certainly feels like with the current squad, we've kind of hit our ceiling for what they can achieve. So if we're not going to jump in, if we're not going to upgrade the team, particularly in the attack, particularly in the attack of getting a goal scorer, another goal scoring threat other than Henny Mkhitaryan, that we're probably just going to be middle of the table, you know, is what it is type team. It's like I said, under most circumstances that would be fine, but the fact that we ended up hitting the nail on the head by signing Henny Mkhitaryan with trading for Walker Zimmerman, and like if we kind of have two pillars like that and kind of waste the opportunity to really go for it, it's going to suck. It is definitely going to suck to miss this window, because it feels like, man, it feels like we had a window that we maybe didn't think we were going to have and haven't quite been able to capitalize on it.
Fans, summer's almost here.
I think, you know, I'm hopeful that something's going to happen in the August or the summer window in the striker position. I'm hoping that we're going to get another, you know, capable center back in this window, because I think, like, if the primary transfer window closes on April 24th, we traded this scam to get an international spot, and if we get to that point and don't make any move whatsoever, that's going to be a huge red flag. Because, I mean, like, I understand you have to be careful. You have to, like, especially, like, when you've kind of been burned in the movies you've made. Like, the move for Jandor Cadiz did not work necessarily.
And it's
which is so funny that people like have been, like, clamoring, like, maybe we should bring back Jandor Cadiz. It's like, he only ever scored 5 goals for Nashville SC, and suddenly we're like, let's bring back Jandor Cadiz. Let's go get him again. Which, that's more of a testament to how bad the attack has been, that we're like,
cut on and miss.
Some fans are like, we should go back and get this guy that scored 5 goals. That's a good idea.
And welcome back. Here's a speed
But you've kind of been burned
Ronald
twice on
Acuna
trying to go get a
Jr.
big name DP striker. Jandor Cadiz didn't really work out. Ake Loba, which as I said in a recent video, I kind of blame CJ Sapong getting hot at the wrong time for ruining Ake Loba's time here. But it didn't work, so certainly can see why Nashville SC would be gun-shy about
Here's Austin
making
Riley.
sure they get it right the next time they do something like that. But at the same time, like, feels like we got a squad. It feels like we got a team. It feels like we got a couple key players to where we're
and that one pulled foul.
very close to being able to really contend, really compete in MLS. And if we don't,
average exit velocity year in and year out.
Goes down looking.
try to go for it, it's going to be a missed opportunity. Because, you know,
for the hitter, and I'm sure that's going to sit on him for a little while. You want to be ready to hit the fastball.
Mukhtar's 28, 29. I think
that was
Zimmerman's same age range, you know. we're weirdly one of the older teams in MLS. You know, Sean Davis, our big signing last year, was like, oh, it's a big upgrade on the midfield that was aging with Dex McCarty. He's like 30. So it's like 30's, you know, it's young, but it's old in professional sports. And so we're a veteran team that needs to capitalize on the opportunity we have right now, and I don't know if we're going to do it. But for this week in general, I don't think we're going to beat LAFC. I don't see how that could possibly happen. But I have been wrong just about every game so far this season, so maybe I'm wrong in the right way for once. But I don't know. Hopefully, there's something that can happen that can get us a result. But we're going to have plenty of Nashville SC content coming on the channel coming up, because there's like, I think 4 straight home games coming up, because we've got LAFC tomorrow night, then we've got the Wednesday night game against San Antonio in the U.S. Open Cup, which I talked about that. That's kind of a bummer that we drew the defending USL champions instead of like one of the more local teams that would have been fun to play, like Chattanooga or Knoxville or Memphis. Maybe we'll get one of them in the next round, though. Then next Saturday afternoon, a rare, random, like 12:30 kickoff. We've got Atlanta coming to town. That's going to be a fun one. They've been on fire for the most part for the start of the season. Another tough matchup. And I think the following Saturday after that is also a home game, but I'm not for sure. I can't remember. So plenty of Nashville SC content coming up on the channel. Plenty of just other content. We always got stuff going on. Just if you didn't watch the video that came out yesterday, subscribe. Is that the right terminology to use here? I purchased a Disney World annual pass, meaning we're going to start picking up on the Disney content. So if you enjoy that, there's going to be more of that to come. If you don't enjoy it, I apologize.
Well, the last 10 games or so have been anything
I think I've rambled enough for tonight.
So
going to wrap up the live stream. Thanks for watching, whether you're watching live or you're catching the replay. I appreciate it. Hopefully me and the Braves can finish off the Athletics here tonight. And until next time, I will see you at Taco Bell. And you've been wondering why I've been saying that lately, there's a video that came out this week that should explain it. So go back and watch.